Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Grieving Nurse podcast. And this episode, we're going to talk about losing interest in everything, but that you're still able to do the basic functions of the day. So I see this so often for people after a loved one has died, how they're like, I just don't find joy in things. The things that used to bring me excitement and that I used to love, I just don't really care about anymore. And the first thing I want to say is that this is normal. Okay. This is normal in grief. There is a difference between depression and grief depression. Okay. So if you have never been diagnosed with depression and all of a sudden a loved one has died or multiple loved ones have died, and you're like, I feel depressed. I feel like I find no joy in things. It's hard to want to do things. That is grief depression. Okay. It comes with grief and it also is normal and it will fade over time or when you're processing the grief as it comes, okay? It'll still be there, right? But as you process the emotions and as you work through your grief, that grief depression will fade away faster and you'll find that you just find more hope in things. So that's what we're going to talk about today is that normal grief depression that comes with grief. If you've had depression before, if you struggle with depression on and off throughout your life, grief depression on top of that, like I would encourage you to talk with your doctor, your physician to get the proper treatment that you need for that. Now, that's not saying that sometimes we don't need medication or something to help us a little bit over the hump with the grief depression. But I'm hoping that this episode will help you get some clarity on that, and help you know that, oh, this is where I'm at, like this is normal, or okay, I think I need to go talk to my doctor because this is more than that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and again, this might not line up directly like yours, but this was my experience. So I've never had depression. I've never been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, anything like that. And then both my parents died in 2019. My dad was an expected death, died at the end of July. My mom was an unexpected death, died the beginning of December. So about 4.5 months apart. I also was very postpartum at the time with our sixth child. Yes, our sixth child. So I would also even say, like, if you've just had a baby or if you're pregnant, right? If your hormones are, or even if you're hitting like menopause time, like our hormones affect so many things that for me, I think a big part of it too was also I was just in the fog of like having a baby, little to no sleep, struggling with that. And so my hormones were all over the place. I also had the grief fog that came with that. I was getting things done throughout the day. And I think even looking back at the time, like looking back now, I can say I 100% was in a fog. I did not enjoy the things I was doing. I was doing them out of necessity or because like just because like I just did them, right? Like I didn't think about them, I didn't enjoy them, I didn't want to do them, but I just did them. Um, I felt very, I would say numb. Okay. Numb, I think is a good word because it wasn't like I dreaded doing the things. I was certainly not excited to do the things, but it was just numb. I had no feeling about them whatsoever. I would just get up, I would do the things, end of the day, go to bed, like just numb. Okay. So that was my experience with it. And again, I had never experienced anything like that before. I would say a little bit with like babies, right? Like a little bit of that pregnancy brain, after babies are born, just lack of sleep brain. It was kind of a close to that, right? But then when the grief came in, like it was just turned up a notch. Okay. It was maybe when you have babies, it's like at a five. With all this grief, it was like an 8 or 9, maybe a 10 some days. So that's kind of my experience of it. Um, if that helps anybody at all, be like, okay, like, yes, that's exactly where I'm at. That's what's happening. And especially, I just, again, if you're not sleeping, like that affects so many things, so many things. And so this episode will come out still in February. And so I am running every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. I'm running a free webinar about sleep because sleep is so important. And when we're grieving, it is hard to come by. So you can go to nursegriefcoaching.com to sign up for that free webinar. Now, that being said, when you have little or no joy in anything, it feels awful. It feels like you're walking through a fog. It feels like it'll last forever. It feels like other people around you should know and they don't. And so when you have to explain it, it's draining of energy even more than you have available at the time. It's hard to explain. You may not even know that that is what's happening right now. And so if you're I just feel blah. Like I feel like I am going through the motions, but it's not, I don't feel like how I felt before. And so again, this is normal. This will get better. Just like after you have a baby and there is that lack of sleep period and it feels like it will last forever, like you're never going to get sleep again, it will come back around again. Okay. So that is like the biggest thing that I want to say is like it does get better. Now, if you want tips to help it get better faster, that is what this episode is for. So, first and foremost, to recognize that I like to call them red, yellow, and green days. And I think I'm always going to put in orange also because I was coaching somebody the other day and it's like, she's like, yeah, like it felt like a red day emotionally. But when I looked back at it, I was like, well, I think it's a yellow day because I really was productive. Like I got things done, but mentally I was just out of it. Like I was drained and it just felt very like go through the motions. Like, but when looking back, like, yeah, I cleaned out a cupboard and I called my kids and I went grocery shopping. So it couldn't have been that bad. And again, I think that it is helpful to put these things in a box and give them a name and a label. So therefore, then it doesn't feel like it's always spiraling out of control. It doesn't feel like we're always having the worst day ever. But putting things in boxes can also, again, it puts limitations on it, right? And so I want you to take this with kind of a grain of salt, right? And plug it in where it's helpful for you in your life and to to use it or to not use it or to use a little bit of it, like whatever you need. So, red days are days when you really can't get out of bed. You really you can't do much of anything. Okay. Like, red days are the days where, like, you're like, I think I need to talk to somebody, but I don't even have the energy to do that. And so you just kind of lay there, or for me, I scroll on my phone for hours. Like I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't bring myself to care if the kids had food or not. Like I did care, right? Like it was in the back of my mind because I knew my husband was around, like he would take care of them. But I couldn't find the energy to even care to communicate to him that like I need you to take care of the kids. I was just like, he'll take care of it because I'm not even gonna, I can't. So that's a red day. An orange day is a day where you can function. Outwardly, it looks like you're functioning, but inwardly, your brain is just fried. You are emotions are all over the place. You either just feel like you're dragging through mud all day, or you are like just like really sad or um, really overwhelmed with the feeling that, which then kind of leads to sadness that your loved one's never going to be there again, right? Like everything just feels blah, but you still are doing the things, right? Like You're maybe getting your kids out the door to school or you're dropping them off. Maybe you're like, I'm gonna drop them off. I'm not gonna shower. I threw some money at them to get lunch at school. I'm going back home. I'm crawling into bed, right? Like I'll do supper for them, throw pizza in, like just very, very minimal things. But or maybe even a little bit more. But then like your mind is just shot. It just is. You don't want to be in your mind. It feels bad. It feels sluggish. And then yellow days are the days where you still feel that emotional pull, but it's not as strong. You might feel sad, but it's not that walking through sludge like dragging your like picture like a snail, like just the like very slow or a sloth, like on the cartoons where like everything is like moving slow, like like it's a those are more orange day like or yellow days, right? Like that's kind of how your mind is on those days. But then orange days are like, I'm doing a little bit, but it's very, very minimal. Yellow days are like outwardly, somebody would think I was fine. They really would because I am dropping the kids off, I'm making the meals, I'm making sure their lunches are packed, I'm helping them with their homework, I'm finishing my work for the day. But internally, again, like it's just that slow sloth thought process. And then green days are days when you're like, wow, like that was a good day. Like I wasn't feeling like I was walking through a fog. I had moments of clarity or even the whole day maybe was like there was clarity with it. Okay? So green is more clarity. And then of course you're able to do all the things. So when you are so just like to kind of round it all out, right? Like I wanted to give you guys this information so you know that this is normal. And again, I always encourage my clients to like write down in like even online on your calendar or in a journal or on a planner that you have. Like just you can even put R-O-Y and G, right? Like what day? Okay, like this was a yellow day. This was a yellow day. This was a green day. Like this was a red day, right? Like because then overall you can look at the overall picture and see, oh, not every day is bad. Yes, there have been tough days, but that's to be expected. That is normal, and not every day is bad. And so I encourage you guys to talk with me, and I am doing Voxer coaching now, which is essentially it's where you walkie-talkie me like on your phone and I walk you through whatever you're going through. Okay. So like if you're like, I cannot bring myself to care, you have somebody to talk to about that because so often our loved ones around us, they mean well. They really do. They mean well, but they say things that are like, well, everybody's gonna die, or "Oh, it's been 6 months, it's been a year." Like they wouldn't want you to be sad, right? Like that's the one that's like, oh, they wouldn't want you to be sad. Yeah, I know, but I am sad. Okay. So like it allows you to message me, it allows you to message somebody who understands. And not only that, but then I help you walk through it. Like, okay, today's a red day. That's fine. Like, how do you want to show up for yourself? What are the things that you can do to help yourself through the day? Maybe you're like, I want my husband to pick up a pint of ice cream when he comes home. Great. I will encourage that for you, okay? I'm not going to guilt trip you. I'm not, but I am going to help you see more things that will actually help you instead of having you drag out all of these red, orange, and yellow days, okay? Because that's what we tend to do. Once we get stuck, we tend to stay stuck and it's hard to get moving again. So I just help you gently, lovingly get moving again, okay? And even if it's sloth type movements, that's okay. That's okay. All right. That's why I'm here to just love you through it. So, nursegriefcoaching.com has all the information on that. Sign up for that. And for sure, check out the free webinar that I'm having. I will send out a replay if you guys can't be there live. So, nursegriefcoaching.com. I'm praying for you guys, and I hope you have the best possible day that you can.